Leaked cable text, Cipher number EI0678, March 7, 2022. The most authoritative public version comes from The Intercept, August 2023, based on a leak from a Pakistani military source. Dropsite News published what it described as the full original Pakistani cipher in May 2026, with the content matching the earlier transcription, minor variations in formatting or typos corrected for security. Here is the body of the cable, lightly formatted for readability, classification markings removed. I had a luncheon meeting today with Assistant Secretary of State for South and Central Asia, Donald Liu. He was accompanied by Deputy Assistant Secretary of State Les Vigoury. DCM, DA and Councillor Qasim joined me. At the outset, Don referred to Pakistan's position on the Ukraine crisis and said that people here and in Europe are quite concerned about why Pakistan is taking such an aggressively neutral position on Ukraine, if such a position is even possible. It does not seem such a neutral stand to us. He shared that in his discussions with the NSC, it seems quite clear that this is the Prime Minister's policy. He continued that he was of the view that this was tied to the current political dramas in Islamabad that he, Prime Minister, needs and is trying to show a public face. I replied that this was not a correct reading of the situation, as Pakistan's position on Ukraine was a result of intense interagency consultations. Pakistan had never resorted to conducting diplomacy in public sphere. The Prime Minister's remarks during a political rally were in reaction to the public letter by European ambassadors in Islamabad, which was against diplomatic etiquette and protocol. Any political leader, whether in Pakistan or the US, would be constrained to give a public reply in such a situation. I asked Don if the reason for a strong US reaction was Pakistan's abstention in the voting in the UNGA. He categorically replied in the negative and said that it was due to the Prime Minister's visit to Moscow. He said that, "I think if the no-confidence vote against the Prime Minister succeeds, all will be forgiven in Washington because the Russia visit is being looked at as a decision by the Prime Minister. Otherwise, I think it will be tough going ahead." He paused and then said, "I cannot tell how this will be seen by Europe, but I suspect their reaction will be similar." He then said that honestly, "I think isolation of the Prime Minister will become very strong from Europe and the United States." Don further commented that it seemed that the Prime Minister's visit to Moscow was planned during the Beijing Olympics, and there was an attempt by the Prime Minister to meet Putin, which was not successful, and then this idea was hatched that he would go to Moscow. Ambassador rebuts, "The visit was long planned for bilateral economic reasons, predated the invasion, and Pakistan sought to keep channels open, especially for Afghanistan. European leaders also visited Moscow around the same time." I also told Don that Pakistan was worried of how the Ukraine crisis would play out in the context of Afghanistan. Don did not comment. I told Don that just like him, I would also convey our perspective in a forthright manner. I said that over the past 1 year, we had been consistently sensing reluctance on the part of the US leadership to engage with our leadership. Don replied that the thinking in Washington was that given the current political turmoil in Pakistan, this was not the right time for such engagement, and it could wait till the political situation in Pakistan settled down. The cable continues with additional diplomatic context on bilateral issues, perceptions of neglect, Kashmir, and the ambassador's assessment that the strong US remarks likely had high-level approval. Key analysis. 1. Tone and intent, US side. Donald Liu's language is blunt and undiplomatic by traditional standards. He personally attributes Pakistan's aggressively neutral stance to Imran Khan, dismisses institutional explanations, and explicitly links improved relations, all will be forgiven, to the success of the no-confidence vote. The threat of isolation from the US and Europe is clear. This goes beyond standard concern sharing into signaling that Khan himself was the obstacle. 2. Pakistani ambassador's response. Asad Majid Khan pushes back professionally, defending the Moscow visit as pre-planned and bilateral, emphasizing interagency process, Afghanistan priorities, and reciprocity. He highlights US reluctance to engage at the highest levels. His reporting is factual and balanced, but he flags the gravity of Liu's remarks. 3. Geopolitical context, timing. Weeks after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Feb 24, 2022, and Khan's Moscow trip, Feb 23, 24, Pakistan abstained on some UN votes. Broader grievances: US frustration with Khan's independent foreign policy, Russia visit, neutrality, prior refusal of US bases drones, closeness to China, Turkey. Domestic link: Liu ties the foreign policy issue directly to Pakistan's internal political dramas, suggesting awareness or encouragement of the brewing no-confidence move. 4. Implications for regime change claims: supports Khan's narrative. The cable validates his core claim that the US signaled relief, removal of pressure if he were ousted. It was not a direct order but strong incentivization, classic great power pressure politics. Nuance: no smoking gun evidence of US orchestrating the vote, e.g., funding opposition or directing Pakistan's military. It reflects frustration and opportunistic signaling amid Pakistan's civil-military tensions. Pakistan's establishment, military, ultimately enabled the ouster. US perspective: standard realpolitik. Washington wanted alignment on Ukraine post-invasion. Khan's timing and defiance were seen as provocative. Denials of interference focus on no direct order, which the text supports. 5. Pakistani politics and aftermath. The cable exposed deep state fractures. Khan's public waving of a paraphrased version escalated it into a sovereignty issue. It fueled his foreign conspiracy narrative, leading to his 2022 ouster, subsequent arrests, and ongoing trials, including under the Official Secrets Act for mishandling the document. Recent full publication, 2026, has reignited PTI support and debate, while critics call it routine diplomacy exaggerated for politics. Overall assessment: this is a revealing snapshot of US frustration with a non-aligned leader during a global crisis. It shows how personal leadership style and timing, Moscow visit, can trigger major relational strain. Whether it constitutes improper interference depends on one's view of sovereignty versus alliance expectations. The document is authentic per multiple leaks and has held up under scrutiny. It underscores Pakistan's perennial tightrope between major powers. If you want deeper breakdown on specific paragraphs, comparisons to Khan's public statements, or related events, let me know.